Welcome to Asphalt Talk, a podcast by and for asphalt professionals. Join our expert hosts as they tackle real industry issues to pave a smoother way for asphalt suppliers and producers. This podcast is sponsored by MAPA, the Missouri Asphalt Pavement Association. Founded to promote quality and accountability, MAPA has been serving the asphalt producers of Missouri since 1990. And now a public service announcement from our sponsor, May Create Design. Google Translate doesn't work for web designer to paving company translations. You say hot mix and it thinks you're talking about the latest snack craze. Wouldn't it be nice to work with a designer who knows the difference between binders and bitumen? Work with folks who have been speaking your language for the past 17 years. Visit maycreate.com. That's M-A-Y-E create.com. Because if you think your website sucks, so does everyone else.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Asphalt Talk. I'm your host, Dale Williams with the Missouri Asphalt Pavement Association. Today, we're sitting down with Eric Kopinski, I-70 Program Director, to discuss the rebuilding of I-70. Eric, it's great to talk to you today, and I look forward to our discussion about I-70. But before we get into that, I'd like to maybe spend a little bit of time letting the audience get to know you. So this kind of get started. How long have you been with MoDOT?
Yeah, Dale, appreciate you having me on to talk a little bit about I-70. A little bit about myself. I joined the department about 14 years ago, right after school. So grew up kind of in the St. Louis area and been in a few different roles with MoDOT prior to coming on to the I-70 program.
But that's really a great segue. So what other positions have you held before moving into this I-70 role?
Yeah, I kind of moved around the state in a various roles. So I started in the St. Louis district in construction as an inspector, and then moved to our central office and did a consent decree role where I worked on some of our stormwater compliance. From there, I moved to the Northeast district where I worked on Champ Clark River Bridge project, and then I moved back to St. Louis where I took a role as the district materials engineer, where we did a bunch of different stuff with the district, working mainly with the materials side. From there, I kind of moved to Washington, D.C. for a 1-year period where I was still a MoDOT employee, but I was working with AASHTO. So I got to see a lot of different stuff at the national level and work on policy items. And then from there, I moved to I-270, where I've been for the last 4 years prior to coming to improve I-70. So I've got to see a lot of the state and work with a lot of different contractors and consultants in my role in the last 14 years.
Yeah, that's quite a breadth of experience you have. I imagine being out in DC for a year was exciting and interesting as well.
Yeah, Dale, the one thing that kind of allowed me the opportunity to was I got to see a lot of the industry partners and how they kind of operate at a national level and some of their interests and kind of how laws are introduced or bills are brought forward. But the most interesting thing about that was I got to kind of go shadow approximately 10 different state DOTs where there was a problem or an issue, and we'd kind of fly out there and take a look at how they were doing business or talk to them. So I kind of got to see from them and their leadership, kind of how they operate, and brought back some good lessons learned that I've kept for my leadership style, and then shared with our leadership as well. But having that opportunity was priceless for me growing and learning.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So who would you say has been the most important mentor you've had professionally?
I've had a number. As mentioned in my previous roles, there's always been one or two, leaders that I've worked under that I've kind of taken their leadership style or worked closely with them. And it may surprise some people, but I have a lot of industry, colleagues or mentors that I also kind of reach out to. So I kind of view it as a three-legged stool. I got friends and colleagues at MoDOT that I really respect and can call on when I have issues or challenges or, look for advice. And then also got industry partners that I do on the consultant and contractor side. And then also those other state DOTs from my time at AASHTO that that a lot of other states are battling the same problems we are for whatever the problem may be. So picking up the phone and being able to quickly see how they're doing things. It kind of depends on what the day is or the problem, but I got a lot of friends around that I lean on for when we run into some challenges or hiccups to see how to best maneuver. So I don't have one person in particular, but kind of an army of folks that help me and guide me as I run into different challenges.
Yeah, I know it certainly helps to have the network. I mean, I worked, I don't know if you were aware, I worked for MoDOT for 14 years before coming over to this job, and have the network of folks that I work with MoDOT, and also the network of my counterparts in surrounding states. And it certainly helps to talk to other states and see how they're tackling issues that a lot of times they've already fought the battle you might be in the middle of. It
Yep.
definitely helps. So when you're not at work, what do you like to do? What kind of hobbies do you have?
I'm a really big sports fan, Dale. So I really am a college football nerd and like to watch a lot of the games and track some of that stuff and pro football and baseball, but also enjoy traveling. So um, I've been known to put in a few hours myself, but when not working, those are kind of what ties me up for hobbies and kind of relax and unwind.
So who's your favorite NFL team?
Uh, since the Rams abandoned us, so growing up in St. Louis, I was a Rams fan when they were good back in the day. But anybody but the Rams. But it's been quite an enjoyment watching the Chiefs and Mahomes and Kelsey and those guys play. And it Kansas City is such a fun place to go visit on game day and just be a part of that experience. Nothing really beats that. So it's great to be at Arrowhead and take it all in for a game or two a year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I enjoy them myself. So what is one thing most people outside of the construction industry don't know about you? Let me rephrase that. What is something that most people in the construction industry don't know about you?
Yeah, so it's probably work related, but I think a lot of people see me give presentations or in meetings, but really the highlight of my day, Dale, is when I get to go out in the field and just hang out with the crews for a day. And it could be, you're sitting on the paver or you're talking to the operator. And on the MoDOT side, it's talking to our maintenance folks. And whether it's on the MoDOT side with our maintenance crews or whether it's on the contractor side, just talking with the field crews, those are the backbones of the organizations for the private companies or for the state. But to go talk to those individuals and see what challenges they're having and just hear some of their stories. And a lot of times, as you probably know, they're the most blunt for how we need to do things or provide insight. But there's a lot of good ideas, and just to kind of get down to that level is my most enjoyable day when I can put on work boots and just get out in the field and just kind of hang out with the crew and see what we can do to better support them as a whole, as an industry and a DOT. But I think they're part of the reason we've had such great success in the last few years, delivering such great projects and our reputation as industry and DOTs at kind of very high level. And we need to continue to make sure we're checking in with those individuals that deliver.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's one of the things I love about working in the industry is the type A personalities. You never have to wonder what they're thinking about. Usually we can cut through the bad part and get stuff fixed because everybody's pretty willing to speak their mind.
Absolutely.
So what would you say is one of the most important lessons you've learned over your career?
So the biggest lesson that I've learned and try to share with some of our younger staff is the communication is everything. Almost every problem we have in the field or on the design side is due to communication breakdown or just not fully understanding what's happening. We have a lot of really intelligent people, but that communication's key. And then also, I'm a big proponent of trying to keep things simple. So those that have worked with me before know the more simple I can keep things, the better I understand it, and it just seems like the better the results are. So those two kind of lessons learned are what I try to carry through for every job we do. And some of our projects just become very complicated. There's no way to make them any more simple, but I think the easier we can kind of make sure everybody's on the same page moving forward, the better our results are.
Yeah, absolutely. It amazes me. We have more ways to communicate, yet that still seems to be the biggest hurdle I think we face sometimes. But I think we're good at working through things. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about the reconstruction of I-70. And really, to start, I'd like kind of maybe talk about how we got to the point. We had some historic legislation that's going to spend about $2.8 billion on the reconstruction and adding a lane to I-70. I know I guess it was probably about September last year, I attended a meeting with Missourians for Transportation Investment where they first floated the idea of rebuilding I-70 with the historic general revenue balance we had. And then in January, the governor calls for $859 million in general revenue. And we get to the point where we are today where the legislature appropriated $2.8 billion and the governor, approved the budget. And now we're sitting here, and I know part of the money is going to be general revenue or cash, and then part of it's going to be in the form of bonding. Can you maybe kind of help us understand that breakdown, how that's going to work?
Yes, absolutely, Dale. So I think leading up to this past legislative session, there was a lot of good work that's been done surrounding I-70. So if we look, there's a big project in Kansas City, the Buck O'Neill project on I-70 in the middle of the state. We have the Roachport Bridge. And then while not touching I-70, it's the freight corridor that kind of feeds into 70 on the eastern limits, and that's I-270 North. So those were 3 monster projects, and those are all going very well. And those are all kind of critical to kind of get the conversation going for I-70. But there was a lot of collaborative effort from industry, from the consultant side and the contractor side, and from MoDOT. So there was a lot of education that happened to our legislators that kind of showed them that we're ready to go with this 70 if they make a bold move. And leading up to that, there was a lot of rumors and discussions and conversations being had, but I know there was a lot of effort to really educate our elected officials for what we could do if this funding did come to be. And I think from the MoDOT side, our leadership, our executive leadership was very pleased, but also surprised that such a historic investment was made. But the 2.8 billion has been signed into the budget by the governor, as you mentioned. So the funding breakdown's pretty simple. It's $1.4 billion has been transferred over to MoDOT. And that was done at the last commission meeting in June. And then the other money is coming, the other 1.4. So again, 1.4 general revenue, that's kind of a one-time transfer where MoDOT now has that funds. And the other 1.4 is coming through bonding, where through the general assembly, through the legislative process, they will bond the additional 1.4, and then that will be transferred over to MoDOT as needed. So we have a real opportunity here that with this program across I-70, we have a lot of flexibility written into this funding. There's not a lot of you shall do this or you need to do that. And that's fantastic because that allows us to kind of adapt to what industry is telling us and what market conditions are telling us. And that flexibility, I think, is going to provide tremendous return that we're able to really maximize these funds as an industry, as a DOT, and really leverage this and show the taxpayers and the citizens of Missouri that when you invest in transportation, 1, we're ready to go and deliver. 2, we're going to deliver a very high quality product. And 3, that the return on your investment is going to be, manifested and going to grow. So we're just thrilled here at MoDOT. We've got a ton of work to do to get ready for this in a short period of time. And we've been working really hard around the clock to get ready. But this is kind of what we view as a, generational investment in transportation. And we want to make sure we do the right thing and do a good job and work very closely with industry to deliver on this, to show that in the future, this is a good playbook to deliver on projects of very, sizable dollar figures that probably couldn't have been done otherwise unless, the legislators make bold decisions and we show we're ready to go.
Yeah, I think we need to really recognize the leadership in the House and Senate, and the governor for this. I mean, you take Senator Lincoln Huff, who sits in Springfield and has the political fortitude to put money in the budget to rebuild I-70 that doesn't necessarily directly touch his district, but is he's impacted by it. I think recognizing him and Representative Cody Smith, the governor, everybody's leadership has gotten us to this historic place where we're at. So, maybe getting back more to I-70. So, what are going to be the limits for reconstruction?
So the current limits that our program's going to touch is from Blue Springs in Kansas City, and we're going to go all the way to Wentzville in St. Charles County, and we're going to span across the state, and it adds up to a little over 200 miles. And in this corridor is something that MoDOT's been studying for a number of years. Back 20 years ago, there was a big environmental study done to say, if funded, here's some options that could be pursued. And it also cleared the footprint for making sure that this is ready, kind of shovel ready. But we've been studying this for a number of years and have a number of estimates, but we're just in the most recent month, 2 months, we've been really attacking this aggressively and trying to figure out what are good project sizes, what's the first project to go, what's the playbook that both industry and the general public can fully understand. And I know there's been a lot more questions of late, and it's our job to try to get those answers to industry and to the general public.
So, as you talk about that, I mean, how are you all planning to procure this project? It's going to be like a design build or design bid build or some combination of both, or some other type of contracting we've not used in the state before?
Yes, Dale, we're currently have made public, and we had an industry meeting 3 weeks ago. So very short notice. Immediately after the budget was signed, we said we want to have an industry meeting. We want to tell everybody the information we do have now. And at that industry meeting, we laid out a playbook and we said, here is our plan for 6 potential projects. We think we can do 6 potential projects around the state that are positioned such that it allows industry, and material suppliers and everybody else the best opportunity to deliver this. And we provided a 7 to 8 year plan for completing the entire segment of the 200 plus miles. The first project that we identified was the I-70 and 63 interchange. So the eastern interchange in Columbia, and we're going to go to the east towards Kingdom City. And that will be to the Kingdom City interchange, and that will kind of be our first project. And that project has been decided to be a design build project. And then the remaining 5 jobs, we're still getting feedback from industry for our project locations. Do those seem reasonable? Do they need to be broken up? Do they need to be smaller or bigger? And then we're also trying to determine for those remaining 5, does it make sense to do design build or do design bid build? We're looking at other procurement options as well, but currently those are the 2 that we're most considering and kind of come to the forefront as design build and design bid build. And we're, Dale, going to advertise out to industry that we're going to have that first project. We're going to have an industry meeting in probably a month. And we're going to make sure everybody's well aware of this, gets advance notice, and that gets blasted. And we'll make sure that your listeners get that notification. But at that meeting, we'll talk about that first project, but we'll also give an update for the overall program on where we stand and what's kind of a quick update for how these projects look and what schedules are we looking at. So it's happening very fast, but we're trying to be as transparent and pass that information as quickly as we can, knowing that some decisions are changing very rapidly.
Yeah, and you kind of answered a couple of questions I had, up next. many projects and the timeline. And I just like to say, Eric, I appreciate you guys working with industry to figure out how to best scope the balance of the projects. I mean, I think it's important that we come together and figure out how we can best build this together, because I mean, this is a monumental thing to tackle. And I think when we all come together, I think we can have a win for everybody in it. So I from the industry perspective, I really do appreciate your guys, taking this type of approach. I think it gives a win for not just the DOT, the contractors, but it'll be a win for the citizens of Missouri, because we'll deliver the project, I think, probably ahead of schedule and hopefully under budget. So
I like the way you think.
now with way inflation's been, I'm gonna put an asterisk next to under budget, but I do think it does help the way we work together on these things. So how are you guys planning to administer a project of this magnitude? I mean, you're gonna have like a project office, or you're gonna have a couple of offices, that special project offices that oversee it, or what? How are you all planning to work on this?
From the MoDOT side, our plan of attack to administer this is we're standing up a team that is going to be responsible for this. And my role is I'll be leading that team and help, with that. And we have a lot of interest. We from the MoDOT side have kind of filled a leadership team that's going to be centrally located of 5 individuals, and those will be help support the program going forward. But we will have a West project team, a Central project team, and an East project team, and those individuals will be responsible for delivering and administering the contracts. And then from the Central viewpoint, we'll be there to support and help knock down hurdles. And our big goal, our big challenge right now is to get these contracts out that are clearly communicated and have as little risk as possible. So I think the last thing we want to do is have these contracts, whether they're design build or design bid build, where there's all this other stuff that industry needs to do. We want to try to, as much as possible, take care of the utilities and, have the right of way as clear as possible. And it's just, we want industry to come in and do what they do best, and that is design and that is build. And we're going to do that to the best of our ability. But in total, Dale, we're looking at approximately 25 to 30 person team for MoDOT that's going to be administering this $2.8 billion over the next 7 to 8 years. And again, we're really excited for that opportunity, and we view this as a really challenging project that we're ready to go.
So now I want to switch in a little bit. I mean, I'm obviously biased. I want to talk a little bit about, how's the pavement type selection going to be handled on the project?
So we don't have all the answers, but we do know that definitely the pavement design we want to keep, where regardless of what procurement method we go down, that both concrete and asphalt are considered. And for this first project that we're doing, where it'll be from I-70 in Columbia to I-70 in Kingdom City, that is a design build project. We will be providing any shortlisted team a menu of options that will be considered equal. So there'll be a concrete option, and there will be considered an asphalt option. And I think what's important for your listeners is that in this legislative funding, the only hard commitment we have is to build the third lane. So we are going to do everything we can. That is what I've tasked my team and our program team with, is we need to do everything we can while we're here to get as much new pavement and as many new bridges as possible. But we're going to be closely tracking that inflation that you talked about and contractor capacity and everything else. And so I'm very confident with early estimates, we're going to get a lot of good new pavement and new bridges, but there is a possibility that some of these sections may be rehabilitated with very durable pavement treatments, and that's what we're closely going through. Is we're taking pavement cores on these first section, and we're working up a recommended asphalt option and a recommended concrete option, and we'll let that kind of play out in the bidding environment through the design build process. If we do a bid build project, which seems like it may be very likely, we will have those options as alternates, and kind of look through that and work with industry to make it clear with what the process will be. But I think one of the questions I also get, Dale, is, well, this first project, if it is concrete or if it is asphalt, that's going to determine the rest of the corridor. And I would say, no, our team's going to be open. There may be sections of this road of the interstate that may be asphalt, and there may be sections that are concrete, and that's going to be okay. It's not going to be, we're not just going to spec out all one pavement treatment for the whole 200 plus miles. We need to leave that open, and that's going to allow us our best bidding environment from the DOT perspective.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that's the way we've worked together, for probably close to the last 20 years on alternate bidding. And I think our partners here at Mappin are glad to hear that. So approximately, I think it's about 20 years ago, Arkansas rebuilt I-40 across the state. Are you aware of any other states that have taken on, projects this magnitude, kind of lessons learned? I don't know if you reached out to Arkansas.
We have not reached out to Arkansas yet. We've talked a little bit with Seattle and Virginia DOT, and with some of they've done some corridor projects, but to our knowledge, we haven't found a ton of great comp projects that, a city or state are looking to do 200 miles in less than 10 years. And we will continue to reach out to other states. We go down to Texas and look, and they've got just huge, massive programs down there. So that is something we're actively doing, Dale, is trying to reach out to these other state DOTs and figure out what lessons learned there from their side. But I think the one thing that we have that we're blessed with, as you mentioned previously, is we have the funding in place to do a lot of this. And some of these other projects, as we start talking, they have great visions for a program, but it may be a 40-year program because the funding's only 10% in place. And I think really getting the funding in place now is critical. It's going to allow us to, even with inflation, we're going to be able to do this now. And the citizens of Missouri are going to see the benefits, when we're complete. And, we're going to try to track that and monitor. There's a lot of talk of already businesses that are making commitments or exploring opportunities because of this announcement. So we're really trying to capture that value and really sell that or highlight this bold decision made by the legislators has produced all of this. But in the other states we've talked to, there just hasn't been that bold decision to go bite off the entire corridor at once. And that the citizens and the people that use that corridor every day aren't able to fully capture that because only certain sections are complete.
You might reach out to Arkansas. I think they rebuilt all of 40 when they did it, which kind of segues into my next question. So when they rebuilt I-40 in Arkansas, they rubblized the existing concrete pavement and did a full depth asphalt overlay. Is that something you would consider as a pavement type selection tool in rebuilding 70?
Absolutely. I think, everything's on the table right now. We're going to get those pavement cores. We're in the process of doing that this week and next week for this first section. And really, we're gonna surgically kind of chop up the corridor and take a look at each section and see what's the right treatment for that area. There may be a section where the existing base is in really good shape, and to do a beefy overlay will last for years to come, and that'll be perfect. I'll go to the project I was recent on was I-270. We thought we needed to rip that out and put in all new full depth pavement. And when we got there and really started looking at the cores closer, we said, wow, this underlying concrete's fantastic. We just need to mill off 2 inches and put in an asphalt surface, and that asphalt's going to last for decades to come. So we were able to really maximize the funding that way. And I think we're going to do the same here. I think maybe the concern for I-70 is the pavement's a little older and may not be as in great shape. So that option may not be there, but to your earlier point, to rubbleize the base and put in a full depth treatment, I think is certainly an option we're considering. And whatever option we do, even if we go the bid build route, I think we're going to have the ATC process, or we'll have value engineering. We're going to be open to pavement treatments for what's best, and make sure we're looking at every option, even ones that we may have not done in for. We need to be open to that technology and ideas.
So I know there are a lot more questions than we have time to cover today, but if someone has interest in participating in the project, what's the best way to get information?
So I think the best way for anyone that has information or questions or needs better guidance for what this program looks like is we have a project website. And if you just Google improve I-70, so it's www.modot.org/improve I-70. And if you go there, there's information on the website that we plan to update. And I would also encourage any industry partner or really anyone from the public that I'm a lot easier to get a hold of than you would think. So I'm meeting with a number of industry partners now over the next, month, 2 months, whatever it takes. But if you've got questions, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give me a call or schedule a meeting. And I travel quite a bit to Kansas City, to St. Louis, to Columbia. So really wherever in the state, I'm happy to meet with you and better explain what this process is, kind of what the projects look like, and latest information. So and I'm confident, Dale, in the next month or two, we will have a lot more answers, and this will start to become a little more clear. It's just been a very aggressive approach for this rollout, and we appreciate that industry is reacting as quickly as they can, and we're gauging all that as we make decisions for how we move forward. But quickly showing progress will be a good thing for our elected officials that made such a bold decision to fund this. And so that's kind of part of the why for the aggressive schedule. But again, if anyone's got questions, the website, or they can call or email me directly, and we're happy to provide them direct responses.
Okay. Well, we'll embed the website in the podcast so our listeners can get in there and find information on that. So as we wrap things up here, Eric, you got any parting thoughts?
I just really appreciate you having me on to kind of explain this program. It's extremely exciting times for MoDOT, and we're going to continue to work with industry through this. So we're coming to your annual meeting, I think in January, I believe it is, and we're going to talk and give an update. But even before then, we're going to have industry meetings and additional outreach opportunities. So I think I would just really encourage anyone, if they do have questions, if they do have concerns, don't be shy. I want to hear from you and want to talk with you. So we appreciate all industries doing to deliver this important project across the state, in knowing that we still have historic funding for the rest of the state with our other $11 billion in the next 5 years across MoDOT. So it's very challenging times, but I think it's times that we all welcome versus the alternative of there not being as robust of a program. So we just really appreciate the work that everyone's doing, and we look forward to kind of delivering this project together and making it a project where everybody can look back and say, wow, that's a really great corridor that we're all proud of.
Well, Eric, I appreciate your time today, and I'd like to say thank you for listening to Asphalt Talk, the podcast by and for asphalt professionals. If you've enjoyed listening and learned something, please leave us a review. Your review will help us connect with other professionals like yourself so you can keep the conversation going.
1992 called, they want their website back. Stop apologizing for your crappy site and stop working with that company who thinks hot mix is the latest snack craze. Work with folks who have been speaking your language for the past 17 years. And get a website that's not a gigantic pain in the you-know-what to build. Visit mayecreate.com, that's M-A-Y-E create.com for a free consultation and quote. Because if you think your website sucks, so does everyone else.